If you've got sore muscles from going for a big walk or a run, then a gentle, slow yoga flow could be exactly what you need. I'm Paula from Happy Yoga Wales, and this is a slow yoga flow for walkers, hikers and runners. This is suitable for everybody, even complete beginners. I would say maybe have a couple of blocks handy if you are a beginner and if you know that you lack in mobility in certain places. And we're going to start today in a child's pose. And before we get started, if you are brand new to yoga, then I have an absolute beginner's yoga course on happyyoga.wales, where I break down all the poses individually and give you lots of different options to make them work for your body. So you can pop a cushion underneath your hips here and then lengthen out of the low back, walking the hands forwards and rest the head down either on the floor or on a block here. And just take a few deep, steady breaths. Inhaling through the nose. And exhaling through the nose too. So we're not going to hold any of our poses too long today. Really just focusing on loosening up, moving through all the joint movements through the hips especially. And a little bit into the upper body, so if you've been wearing a backpack like I do when I'm out hiking, then hopefully this will feel really good in your body today. Just a couple more breaths here. And then when you're ready, pressing into the big toes, lifting the hips up and coming into a tabletop position. Stack your hips above your knees and your shoulders above the wrists. Spread the fingers nice and wide and just moving with the breath into some cat-cows here. So inhale, let the belly come down, chest come forwards. Exhale, reverse that as we round through the spine, push the shoulder blades up to the sky. And again, belly down, chest forwards. And it might feel nice here just to gently wag the tail. And then rounding through the spine, same thing here, just gently rocking side to side. And just feeling into anywhere that's tight. Breathing nice and steadily. Just one more of each. And then coming back to neutral. From here, we're just going to take your right foot back, tucking the toes under and getting a little stretch through the calves, through the back of the legs here. So just pushing that heel back and then gently rocking backwards and forwards. So pressing into the fingertips here, protecting the wrists. And then a tiny bit of strengthening for the back of the legs here. We're going to pick that leg up and just squeeze through the glutes, squeeze through the hamstrings. So not really any strength in our practice today, but just sneaking a little bit in here for you. And then bring that foot back down, bring the knees back together and just make some circles with the hips here. And then taking that same leg out to the side, all the way out so the toes face straight ahead. And then from here, we're just going to sink the hips back as far as is comfortable. So if you want a bonus stretch for the feet, tuck the toes of your left foot under. So your right leg is stretched out to the side and the left toes are tucked under. You could come down to the elbows, you could stay up higher here. And if it's more comfortable, keep the top of that left foot on the ground. So really focusing on the inner thigh of that right leg. And on the hip. Upper body is nice and relaxed. Just one more breath here. And then coming all the way back up. From here, you're just going to bring your torso upright. So you're stacking your shoulders directly above the hips. This is our gate pose. So again, toes face straight ahead, the same direction as the hips. And then from here, you can stay with your hands on the hips, or you can inhale, sweep the arms up, and then exhale, float that arm down the straight leg, your right leg. So getting a nice stretch through the side body. And that's an area that sometimes gets neglected, but can quite often get tight when we're walking or running. And then bringing the hands all the way back down to the ground and finding your tabletop position. Just give the hips a circle one more time. And then just pressing back into our child's pose just for a couple of breaths. Just notice the difference from one side to the other here. And then on your next inhale, coming back up, and we'll take that little sequence on the other side. So take your left foot back this time, tucking the toes under, and just gently rocking. I'm a bit of a serial multitasker, so you could even turn the hands around here, get a little stretch through the wrists, just one at a time. A little balance challenge as well. And then coming back to neutral, picking up that left foot, stretching all the way back, engage in the back of the leg, back of the thighs, the glutes, toes facing down to the floor. And then take that foot out to the side, toes facing forwards. And again, either with your right toes tucked under or flat to the floor, we're going to sink the hips back just any amount. So you might not go back very far here. Maybe you come all the way down to the elbows on the ground. But we're just looking for a nice stretch through the hips, through the inner thigh of that left leg. So I went for a big walk yesterday. I did 18 kilometers in the mountains, which I guess isn't that big for some people, but it was quite big for me. And then coming all the way back up again, keeping the leg as it is. We're just going to bring the shoulders above the hips. So we're in our gate pose here, pressing the hips forwards, and then maybe inhaling the arms up and floating the left arm down. And then coming all the way back down with the arms back into our tabletop position one more time. And then this time we're going to come into our downward facing dog. So make sure your index fingers are facing straight ahead, toes are tucked under. Take a big breath in. Exhale round into our cat pose, and then keep pushing through the arms as you lift the hips and come into our down dog. Keep your knees bent really generously here. In fact, bend that left knee even more and then press the right heel down to the ground. And just take a few breaths here, stretching through the back of the right leg. Head is heavy, shoulders are relaxed, but the arms are strong, so we're pushing out of the ground. And then straighten through the left heel or the left knee even, and then bend deeply into the right leg. And then just bend and straighten one at a time, so like you're pedaling through the feet. Oh, this feels good to me, hope it does to you. And then from here, we're just going to step the right foot in between the hands. So give it a hand to get there if you need to, so hold on to the ankle. You can even have blocks here to put your hands on to give yourself a little bit more space. And then just let the hips melt forward, so you don't need to come into a really deep pose here, so just a gentle stretch for the hips. Again, maybe find a little bit of movement side to side. And then stack your front knee directly above the ankle, come on up, lifting the shoulders above the hips. Draw the low belly in. You can stay here, or if you want to, we're going to inhale, sweep the arms up. Your right leg is forward, you're going to bring the left arm forwards and the right arm back. So we're coming into a little twist here. Pressing into the big toe of that right foot, just for a little bit more stability. So getting into the quads here, the hips, as well as through the spine. And then inhaling up, bring both hands down, keep the left hand on your block or on the floor, and we're just going to come into a nice easy twist. So turn your chest towards that front thigh, And just pause here. If you want a little bit more intensity, tucking the back toes under, picking up the back knee, maybe even taking the right arm all the way up. And again, just breathe in here, nice and easy. And then lowering the hand down, lowering the knee down. So you can stay here just as we were in this low lunge, or if you want to, you can add on a quad stretch here. So picking up the back foot, reaching back, maybe finding the foot there. You might need to readjust that front foot a little bit. And then gently releasing that foot down. And from here, we're just going to wiggle the foot all the way around, come back into our tabletop position. And we're going to come into a puppy pose from here. So take the hands out a little bit wider than the shoulders. Move my blocks out the way. And we're going to keep the hips stacked directly above the knees as we start to melt the chest down to the ground. So at the moment I'm training for a big walk called the Camino de Santiago. And in preparation for that, I've been wearing quite a heavy rucksack. So this is a pose that I've been doing every day, stretching through the shoulders, through the chest. And then just for our last few breaths, coming up onto the fingertips and lifting the elbows here. Really letting the heart melt down even more. Ah, that feels good. And if the palms are lifted, just bring them back down to the mat. And we're going to slide all the way forwards onto our bellies before we take our little lunge sequence on the other side, coming into a sphinx pose. So our forearms are on the ground, collarbones nice and broad, shoulders down away from the ears. Keep pressing the tops of the feet and the hips into the ground. And again, just let the chest melt forwards here. Dipping the chin in slightly. And then lowering all the way down, take the elbows out a little bit wider just so you can come down. And then bring the hands underneath the shoulders, coming into a baby cobra as we inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together, elbows stay close to the sides of the body. Exhale, lower back down. We'll do that one more time. So as we inhale, lifting up, using all the muscles along the back to come on up, and then keep going, pressing into the floor, come back into our tabletop. And then let's find our downward facing dog. So index fingers straight ahead, pressing firmly into the hands, lifting the hips. And then before we take our lunge, just going to pick up the right leg, take it as high as you can, and then just bend the knee here. So we're just letting that hip open out to the side. It might feel nice just to roll the ankles here. Or the ankle, not both of them. And then bring that foot back down. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So left leg goes up, lift, 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 and then open it out to the side. So your left foot is just dangling behind you, maybe rolling through that left ankle. And then coming into our lunge sequence on the other side, step your left foot in between the hands. Again, give it a little hand if you need to. Grabbing your blocks, placing them either side of your foot, and just let the hips melt forwards and down. So your back toes can be tucked or they can be flat to the ground, doesn't really matter here. But just breathing deeply wherever you are. And then stacking that front knee directly above the ankle, pressing firmly into the heel on the big toe as we come on up. readjusting that foot if you need to, and then either stay in here or inhale, sweep the arms up. Left foot is forward, our right arm is going to come forwards and down, twisting out towards the left. And really reaching the fingertips away from each other here. Relaxing the shoulders, noticing whether they're hunching up by the ears. One more breath. And then inhaling all the way back up, coming back down, framing out the foot, and bringing your right hand to the ground or to your block, and coming into our easy twist here. So turning your chest towards the left. Now you can stay here, or you can tuck the right toes under and lift that back knee. Finding length through the heel all the way, through the whole length of that leg, through the crown of the head. Maybe taking that arm up towards the sky. Breathing deeply into the belly in these twists especially. And then floating that hand back down, letting the back knee come down, and then coming into our dragon pose. So we're just gonna let the hips sink forwards one more time, and then maybe picking up that back knee, back foot, getting my limbs all mixed up today, and then sending the left arm all the way up and over to maybe find that foot. There's a foot, isn't it? Yeah. Just a few more breaths here. So you might find this side feels tighter than the first side, or maybe it feels a little easier. Just noticing that, trying not to judge it. And then circling the arm all the way back round. And then this time we're just going to send the hips back and find a little half splits pose. So again, you can bring the blocks underneath the hands here, let the toes come up to the sky. And keeping the back long here, so the spine is long and straight, so we're not rounding forwards. And then maybe adding a little twist on here as well. So keeping your right hand down, either on the floor or on a block, lengthen through the spine, so the chest comes forwards, and turning again towards that front leg. Maybe taking the arm up. So this is one of my favorite poses for the legs. I tend to get quite tight through the IT band. That's the band of connective tissue that runs all the way along the side, outside of the legs. And then floating that hand back down, and just moving your blocks out of the way. Bend a little bit into that knee so that you can swing the legs back round. And before we do that on the other side, coming into a toes pose. So we're just going to tuck the toes under, spreading them out nice and wide so that they're in contact with the ground. So you can stay here leaning forward slightly if that's more comfortable. If you're okay sitting up, then you're going to stack the shoulders directly above the hips and then reach the arms out wide and just give yourself a big hug with the right arm underneath the left. So again, stretching through the upper body just a little bit here. You could even bring the back of the arms towards each other. Find a little eagle pose in the arms. Just for a breath. And then releasing the arms, spreading them out really wide, opening the chest up, maybe looking up, and then coming down. Release the feet and untuck the toes. That should feel good. Give them a little tap. And then sitting back on the heels if that's comfortable. If it's not, pop a block underneath the hips so that you can sit a little bit higher. So just stretching through the front of the ankles here while we take our eagle pose arms on the other side. So reaching out with the fingertips, thumbs facing up, bring the left arm underneath this time. Give yourself a little hug and then maybe bring the back of the arms together. Maybe even wrapping the hands. And you could even experiment here by lifting up the knees one at a time, stretching a little bit more deeply into the front of the ankles. So again, a little bit of a balance challenge here too. Can we do both? Maybe, maybe not. And then releasing the arms. Feels good. Okay, coming back into our half splits pose on the other side. So coming through into our tabletop, and then just bring the right foot in between the hands, sending the hips back, bringing your blocks underneath the hands if you want them here. Toes facing up to the sky, nice and long through the spine, reaching through the crown of the head. And then maybe adding on that little twist, keeping the left hand down, turning the chest towards the right. And you can even take the right arm up towards the sky. Just make sure there's no tension through the neck here. So just gazing wherever's comfortable. If it's okay, looking up. Drawing that front hip back all the while. And then bringing that hand all the way back down. And then just wiggling the hands out of the way, or the blocks out of the way, and bringing that foot all the way back round. Take the knees out wide. Bring the big toes together. And then sink back into your child's pose. Bringing the hands out forwards in front of you. And then just walk the fingertips over to the right. So we're at a bit of a diagonal here. So pressing back through the left hip, reaching to the right with the fingertips. Breathing deeply into the left hip, into the side of the body. And then staying low, crawling all the way back through center. And reaching over to the left, pressing the right hip back this time. And then coming back through center. Feels good. Reaching forwards, one last big stretch here. So really reach through the fingertips, press the hips right back, big breath in. And then calling the hands back towards the knees, lifting the torso. Just come and sit down here for a moment. And then just to finish off, we're going to take the feet out in front of you, take them out a little bit wider than the hips, and just leaning back on the hands so the fingers are facing forwards. Let the knees come over to one side. Just pause in here. And then over to the other side. Pause in there. And again, knees over, maybe placing the ankle onto the outside of the knee this time. So finding a slightly deeper twist, so the chest is facing forwards here. And then moving the ankle out the way, sending the knees over to the other side. Again, maybe bringing the right ankle onto the outside of that left knee. Just for an extra little bit of weight, getting into the outside of that right hip. And then release and our stretch. Come and sit any way that's comfortable. Sit nice and tall. Let's inhale, sweep the arms all the way up. Reach, reach, reach. And exhale, bring the hands down to the heart. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this slow yoga flow for walkers, hikers, runners. Let me know if you have done any other activities and this has been useful for you. And like I said at the start of our practice, if you found some of these poses a little bit challenging, then why not head over to happyyoga.wales, where you'll find my absolute beginner yoga course, which is designed to give you the skills to follow practices like this on YouTube, or to go to any class in person and feel that you can just look after your own body and know what you're doing safely and effectively. Okay, I'll see you next time on the mat.